Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Allie and I am here in Georgia documenting the process of building a homestead from scratch and, most importantly, raising my family. I am so excited about today's video because I get to share with you all our experience harvesting meat birds for the first time on our farm. I was actually just watching a video with Joel Salatin and he was talking about how that first time you harvest your meat birds and put that meat up, you're officially up and running, and that's definitely how I feel now that we have this chest freezer full of meat. In today's video, I'm going to tell you what nobody talks about when you're harvesting meat birds.
Okie doggy daddy.
So these are just some tips if you guys are getting ready to harvest your meat birds for the first time. As you'll see in this video, we are working with basically no equipment. So we don't have a scalder, we don't have a plucker. And given those circumstances, Chance was able to average about 1 chicken per hour. We've talked to some of our friends. They harvest 10 chickens per hour with the equipment. It can obviously move way faster than we were able to do it in this video. We're definitely looking forward to getting some of that equipment in the future because we can tell that will make all the difference. That sucker's sharp, isn't it? Okay, no. Please.
Victorinox. This is our new butcher knife. I won't do it anymore. Use promo code Chance and Allie at Victorinox to get 15% off.
In all actuality, I do have a link below that you can get this knife, and it is a great knife. I mean, that is a very sharp knife, isn't it?
It's very sharp.
Yeah, and it works.
I've never
great.
butchered an animal other than that first time last weekend, which y'all will see in next week's video.
No, in the last video.
Oh yeah, in the last video.
And they say
that was the first time, and it worked great.
And they say a sharp knife is a humane knife.
Yep.
And that's a humane knife.
When I went to kill cone, I meant to just slice the neck, but it pretty much sliced all the way through.
Okay, so tell me what the process is.
I'm no expert. Kill cone, simmering water, 149 degrees. Dunk her in here, about 30 seconds. Last weekend we didn't have one of these. Now that we have the thermometer, I'm curious to see how much easier the feathers come out. We don't have one of the defeather machines yet, which seems to be the best time saver. But we don't have one of those yet.
So how do you feel about killing the chickens?
I don't know. It's my laying hens over here. I love them. They're my girls. I hate when something happens to one of the laying hens, but for some reason with these meat birds it's a little different. They bite, so I kind of use that as, you know,
and they're pretty crazy.
A little anger inside from when they bite me, so when I gotta put them down, it's not as sad. I love animals, but for some reason it's a little easier than when something happened, or if I have to put down one of the laying hens. I hate that. If one is sick and we can't get her better, and that's happened a few times, and I don't like that, but it's a little easier with the meat birds.
There's something lesser about them.
Yeah, they're sub-bird for some reason. You've
probably heard that saying, a chicken running around with its head cut off. It's more traumatizing than that. Not only does the chicken move after you cut its head off, but the head itself moves around in the bucket. So, and people always say, oh, the body will move for a couple of seconds. Every single chicken that we harvested here on our farm moved around for, I would say, a good 60 seconds to over a minute. That was something I wasn't totally expecting. It's something you should be aware of.
What does nobody tell you about harvesting a chicken?
This feels like soft white underbelly interview. I mean, you always hear chicken with its head cut off running around or whatever the phrase is, but they flop around and
For how long?
a few seconds,
A few
15 seconds.
It was like a minute.
Probably, but the kill cone is better because they stay in the cone and they may move around, but it's not like flopping around on the ground and, you know, disturbing, quite as disturbing as that. But I'm pretty sure when the head came off last week and the head was in the bucket, I'm pretty sure the head was moving too, which is crazy.
That is disgusting. How does the kill cone help?
Just when you lift them, you know, put them upside down, they kind of mellow out a little bit, it seems like.
How do I feel about killing chickens? I don't like it. And I think it's really gross, but I think I should try to harvest one of the chickens today. We're going to, after we pluck the chicken, we're going to put them, after we pluck and eviscerate the chicken, we're going to put them in a cooler full of ice just until we can get them bagged up. Because I feel like it's probably good practice to keep them nice and cold. So we're watching YouTube videos throughout the whole process. I mean, we have a very good idea of what to do, but it's nice to have YouTube videos up just as a reminder for each step. And basically, Jessica Sowards has taught me how to garden, and Justin Rhodes has taught us how to harvest chickens. So I will link those videos that we're watching down below.
This nice fella, Hale Family Homestead.
This guy's good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll link his video down below too.
This is like the claw in Toy Story.
But way darker. You buy chicken in the store every day, you don't think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
And killing them sucks. But there's something about taking an active role in this process that's, I think, good for people to experience at least once.
And we know that she lived and died humanely, and she had fresh grass
Every day.
and
Felt the sunshine on her body.
yeah.
Ate bugs. And she, you know, lived a good chicken life.
Lived a good chicken life. One's what? One trachea, one
Esophagus.
esophagus.
That slowly pull and kind of tear, and we're gonna cut away this fat.
So because of the cutting you did it up at the top, is it going to be easier to pull everything out in like one
I think.
fell swoop?
I think so. The heart. So that's liver, right?
Mm-hmm, probably.
Oh, I felt the heart.
Is it like still beating?
What is that? Big old hard thing. It's like, is that an egg or something? It's like hard.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know.
Oh, peel it away or something.
Here, let me just get all this out. All right, so then you just,
And there's fecal matter in that.
you just cut around.
Wow. Only took 2 hours. Put that in the cold water in the cooler.
Not in the bag?
No, we'll have to bag them all at the end. Was the water pretty cold?
Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure the knife is nice and sharp still.
And I don't think I know how to do this, or these never work.
It's like a hoax.
I guess that feels somewhat sharper. Where's that 45-degree angle? Slide in there, like. The tail feathers always seem to be a little harder to pull out than the rest.
And just another random tip, if it's the middle of summer and you're harvesting your chickens, I would recommend getting started as early as possible in the day, because with the heat brings out more of the bugs. And I have written here in my note, the blood attracts bees. So that's something to be aware of. We just noticed that the further we got in the butchering, the more bees there were that were attracted to the blood. And that can be kind of difficult to work around. We're going to shrink wrap these so they're airtight, but just not right now.
I mean, does it have to be if we freeze it?
I mean, I guess not. What's the...
Like, can we just like put that into a big Ziploc baggie?
I mean, it has twist ties.
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
Just go in the freezer, right?
I don't rightly know.
I don't rightly know.
I can always count on chance. So in last week's video, you watched us butcher one of our chickens early, and I made the mistake of taking the chicken straight from butchering into my kitchen, into the oven, and cooking it for dinner. The problem with that is there's still a significant amount of rigor mortis in the meat when you don't give it time to rest in a cooler of ice water and then in the refrigerator for at least 24 to 48 hours before cooking it or putting it in your deep freezer. So I made sure to rest the chickens that we harvested today in an ice bath and then in the refrigerator for 24 hours before I cooked it. And when I cooked the chicken that I allowed to properly rest, it was the best chicken I've ever tasted in my entire life. It's hard to explain, but this chicken was so white and clean looking. This is a chicken thigh from the chicken we just butchered yesterday, and it is the best chicken I've ever had in my entire life. I shredded the chicken breast off of it and put it in a chicken pot pie for tonight's dinner. It was so delicious. Yeah, I don't know really how to explain why or how it was different, but it just tasted cleaner. So I wanted to tell you all a story. And this is just another disclaimer. I know I put a disclaimer at the top of this video that the video you're watching contains, the killing of animals in as ethical a way as we can do here on the homestead. But the story I'm about to tell you, I think it needs another disclaimer because it's just, when I heard this story, I never got it out of my brain. And if you don't want to hear a story that's maybe going to ruin store-bought chicken for you, maybe skip this part to this timestamp, because once you hear it, you can't really unhear it. I don't really remember where I heard this story. I think it was maybe a thread on Reddit. Basically, there's people out there that are called, I think they're called super tasters, where they can really intensely pick up on very subtle flavors in food. And I think this person that was telling this story was considered a super taster. So there's that. But he was talking about how he was eating fried chicken and he was eating the chicken off the bone and he could taste an ammonia flavor on the bone. The reason this person was probably able to taste that ammonia is because there's a high level ammonia in chicken poop. And in the chicken industrial complex, they raise these chickens in such, honestly, really gross conditions. They're constantly walking around in their own manure. They barely have any room to move around. And so it makes sense to me anyways that ammonia in their manure gets absorbed into the skin of their feet and then into the bones of their legs, because there's such a high concentration of manure all the time that they're always walking around in. And what really grossed me out about this story is that I would buy rotisserie chickens from the grocery store and I would boil their bones to make chicken stock. And that's just, it's one thing to maybe glance the bone of a chicken when you're eating the meat off of it, but to boil the bones of conventionally raised chickens to make chicken stock, I just can't get that story out of my head. So I felt really good about making chicken stock out of the chickens that we raised here on our farm. These chickens lived amazing lives. They were moved to fresh grass twice a day, so they were never having to stand or walk around in their own manure. They felt the sunshine on their feathers. They breathed in the fresh air every day, and they were able to peck through the grass and eat bugs and worms and just be how chickens are supposed to be. You know, I've had people ask me, is it worth it? Are you going to do it again? And I definitely think it's worth it. The chicken that we produced here on the farm this past week is invaluable. I don't think you can buy a similar product to it at the grocery store. Our chicken is ethically raised, has no antibiotics, no vaccines, and yeah, I think it's an amazing product that you can grow at home. When you eat a chicken that's lived, honestly, a bad life, you have to wonder, how does it affect you when you eat that meat? I'm not saying we're perfect. We still buy the bulk majority of our meat from the grocery store, but this was one small step towards ethically raised, sustainable meat that we can grow here on our farm. So my answer to people asking if I want to do this again or if I want to do this in the future, I absolutely want to do it again. I want to do it in the future. Maybe next time we can afford to buy a plucker and a scalder, or just even a plucker would be so helpful, because honestly, it's a ton of work without that tool. And the next time we grow meat birds here on the farm, I would love to experiment with another type of meat bird, maybe a heritage breed. The Cornish cross breed got super big, super fast, and that was great. And we have so many pounds of wonderful meat in our deep freezer now. We can eat a whole rotisserie chicken basically once a week for the next 4 months. So we have our chicken meat covered for the entirety of winter, thanks to the hard work that my husband did here harvesting our meat birds for the first time. I would say to anyone considering raising their own meat, you have to think of it like this. No matter what your diet is, something has to die in order for you to live, in order for you to eat. And I think that playing an active role in that process at least once in your life is good for anyone. I feel really good about the meat that we raised here for our family on our farm this week. Thank you guys so much for watching our first ever meat bird harvest. I am so excited to continue sharing our journey with you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.